The Yellowstone sequel 1883 has been hugely successful and stars film star Sam Elliott and country music stars Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. Created by Taylor Sheridan, 1883 is shot in the rugged American wilderness and at times poses challenges for the cast and crew. So stay tuned and don't go away because we're talking about how Tim McGraw and Faith Hill were filming 1883 in the freezing cold on their 25th wedding anniversary. First up, just how cold was it on the set of 1883? You're about to find out. McGraw recalled one scene that stands out in his memory. In a recent interview, he opened up about some of the environmental challenges that came with shooting 1883. McGraw said, "Faith was driving that wagon across the river and it was probably 36 degrees out, freezing cold. I was up to my waist and on the horse in the water, and it was probably 3:30 in the morning and it was our 25th wedding anniversary when we did that scene." Tim and Faith were really happy to have been given the opportunity to act together in Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone prequel 1883, and in a way, it's been a dream country for the loving couple. But when the couple first began shooting the series, they quickly realized that it wasn't going to be a cakewalk and were in for a bit of a rude awakening. For authenticity, Tim and Faith were forced to subject themselves to the cruel and harsh conditions of Mother Nature, much like the characters they portray would have experienced living in such a rural setting during the late 1880s. Tim and Faith celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary while filming and are currently raising 3 children. Considering most celebrity marriages typically last for only 7 years, it's safe to say that the couple is doing something right. Next up, when did Faith say yes? Let's take a look. Believe it or not, when Tim popped the big question, Faith didn't say yes right away, and reportedly needed more time to think. In a video tweet, McGraw said, "We had dated for a while. I actually asked her to marry me quite a few times and she kept saying no. She said, 'I'm not going to get involved with another country singer. It's just not going to work out.' But everything changed on one fateful day at a country music festival. Ah yes, leave it to a country music festival to put love in the air." McGraw explained that there were trailer houses set up at the festival and he was getting ready to go on stage and perform and had a case with a large mirror in it. Before taking the stage to entertain his fans, he walked up to Faith and again asked her to marry him. But at that very moment, Faith was still either unwilling or unable to provide Tim with an answer. Tim explained the moment Faith finally said yes, saying, "I came off the stage and went back into my dressing room and Faith wasn't there, but I looked at the mirror. In lipstick, it said, 'Yes, I'm gonna be your wife.' And we still have that mirror. And it was the best day of my life, that's for sure." Up next, who are James and Margaret Dutton? Let's have a look. In 1883, Tim and Faith were handpicked to play James and Margaret Dutton. The show follows the story of the 19th century Duttons as they embark on a perilous journey from Texas to Montana in search of a better life. A journey that many Americans at the time sought to make. Although 1883 is drastically different from the original Yellowstone, what happens to James, Margaret, Elsa, and John is directly tied to the Duttons you see in the original series. 1883 starts off with a flash forward to a future that seems grim. Elsa, played by actor Isabel May, narrates as she wakes up on the ground crying, crawls out from under a burning wagon, and sees Native Americans kill several people all around her. She grabs a gun from a dead man, but one of her attackers cautions her against using it. And aside from shooting in frigid temperatures, there were other challenges for Tim and Faith. During an interview, Tim confessed, "I remember we were sitting on our patio and I looked at Faith and I told her, once we sign the contract, we are no longer the boss anymore. We're hired help. It's going to be really hard work." And it was. It was 14-hour days, 6 days a week, and we probably got 3 hours of sleep a night. I grew up in Louisiana and my stepdad was a cowboy, so I could ride before I could walk. But the wagon driving was something completely different. I had never done that before and Faith had to do that the most. Stay tuned and don't go away because we're revealing everything we know about 1883 and a new Yellowstone-inspired series titled 1932. Next up, what is the significance of 1883's opening scene for the Dutton family? You're about to find out. During the opening scene, when Elsa reaches for the dead man's gun, one of the attackers tells Elsa that he will sell her or kill her. Elsa shouts at him, "You speak English. How can you do this?" And the man firmly replies, "You speak English and all your people do this." Elsa shoots and kills the man, but he fires an arrow through her stomach. Believe it or not, this scene means a great deal for the Dutton family's story. In season 4 of Yellowstone, fans were able to catch a glimpse of the family from 1883 via flashback, and saw James Dutton round up some cattle thieves. James returns home and finds Margaret bleeding from a bullet wound. We see James's sons, Spencer and John, in the flashback, but Elsa is noticeably absent. We can surmise that Elsa dies from the arrow wound on the way to Montana and that the rest of her family makes it there safe, but we aren't exactly sure. It might also be possible that Elsa isn't isn't shown in the Yellowstone flashback because she got married and started her own family. Normally, TV episodes end with cliffhangers and don't start with them, but nevertheless, the Elsa question is one that lingers on in the minds of fans. Some fans want to know the opening scene's backstory, and there are many unanswered questions that fans want to be answered. For instance, how did Elsa end up alone, shot with an arrow, and her family goes on to survive? From what we've seen in the series so far, James Dutton is extremely protective of his family. We know this because when a man attacked Elsa in her bed, he didn't think twice and blew the guy away. And the big question always remains, if James, John, and Margaret aren't present in the scene at the beginning of 1883, then where did they go? Are they even alive? Up next, what do we know about Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone prequel 1932? Let's take a look. 1932 is a new Paramount Plus drama series that will introduce a new generation of the Dutton family to fans. Set in the early 20th century, 1932 will show the Dutton family tackling pandemics, historic droughts, the end of Prohibition, and the economic challenges of the Great Depression in the West, the place where the Duttons call home. 1932 takes place roughly 25 years prior to the birth of James Dutton III, who's played by Kevin Costner in Yellowstone. And we have some very exciting casting news about the cast of 1932. Starring in 1932 will be screen icons Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. Although we have no further details on their characters, we can confirm that they are in fact the leads in the series. You might be thinking that Ford would be playing John Sr., but the ages don't match up. John Sr. would be in his mid-50s back in 1932, and James would be in his 90s. Ford and Mirren are in their late 70s, so fans are wondering if they'll play younger or older, or maybe they're not even playing Duttons at all. Paramount has not yet confirmed how many episodes would be in 1932. However, 1883 and previous episodes of Yellowstone have consisted of 10 episodes each, so it's safe to assume that seasons of 1932 will be in the same ballpark. Yellowstone Season 5 has just started production, and fans are also waiting to learn when they'll get more episodes of 1883. The Yellowstone universe is expanding, and Taylor Sheridan is working on even more spin-offs. Sheridan is working on 1883, the Bass Reeves story, and the newest Yellowstone spin-off titled simply 6666. Finally, what is Taylor Sheridan's latest Yellowstone spin-off 6666 all about? As the story goes, at the age of 10, a man named Samuel Burke Burnett learned ranching from his father. 9 years later, in 1870, at the age of 19, Samuel bought 100 head of cattle, all branded with the number 6666. By 1900, Samuel had purchased the 8 ranch that later became the 4 Sixes or 6666 Ranch. The Yellowstone spin-off titled 6666 will take place on the famed 4 Sixes Texas Ranch, which was founded when the Comanches still ruled West Texas. It's hard to find an American ranch with more Western history than the 6666. The 6666's ranch's primary goal is to raise the finest horses and livestock in the world, and it touts itself as being the birthplace of world-class cowboys, the best of the best. That's a wrap for today's video. Thank you for watching.